This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Here's your report.
Oh, thanks, Jane. I wish I could hire someone just like you.
Try LinkedIn Hiring Pro. It's more than a job board. It's like the recruiter you always wished you had. Hiring Pro uses real-time insights to match your role to LinkedIn's unique network of professionals and delivers a short list of best fit candidates. You'll spend less time sorting applicants and more time talking to the right people.
Let's do it. You're irreplaceable, Jane, but another you would be great.
Hire right the first time. Post your job for free on LinkedIn today at linkedin.com/quality.
Welcome to I Talk to Ghosts. I'm Jennifer, your resident medium. Come on in and sit with me in my spirit parlor this evening. The candles are lit and flickering, and their light is catching the edges of the room and pulling soft shadows across the walls. The air is warm, unhurried, and this is the kind of night made for asking for things out loud without apology. Because tonight, we're talking about manifestation, what it actually is and where it really came from. And since Leo season is approaching and will have us all feeling a little bit bolder than usual, what happens when you take an old, serious practice and ask it a very modern question? Does wanting something hard enough actually make it real? Or is that just a story we've been told? Let's find out. Manifestation didn't start on a vision board in 2018, and it definitely didn't start with a movie called The Secret. This idea is old. Let's talk about where manifesting really comes from. In the mid-1800s, a man named Phineas Quimby was working in New England, treating patients not with medicine, but with the idea that illness itself was rooted in wrong belief, that changing the mind could change the body. Out of Quimby's work grew something called the New Thought movement, and by the 1880s, writers like Prentice Mulford were putting the actual phrase, "thoughts are things," into print, arguing that mental states radiate outward and shape a person's circumstances. New Thought wasn't fringe either. It fed directly into things like Christian Science, and its fingerprints are all over 20th century self-help. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, published in 1937, is basically New Thought in a business suit. Then in 2006, The Secret took all of that, a century and a half of it, and repackaged it for a new audience. First in a film that March, then later that November as a book, the one that ended up parked on the New York Times bestseller list for over 200 weeks straight. And between the two, they introduced the phrase law of attraction to a generation who had never heard of Phineas Quimby. What got sold as revolutionary was, historically speaking, well into its second century of being. And with that, let's talk about occult logic, why all of this isn't just positive thinking. Here's where it gets really interesting, because underneath the self-help packaging, there's something genuinely occult going on, and it's older than New Thought by a long way. Ceremonial magic has a concept called will, not willpower in the gym motivation sense, but will with a capital W, the trained, focused direction of consciousness towards an outcome. Aleister Crowley built an entire system around it. The idea that intention isn't just a feeling, it's a force, and like any force, it can be aimed. Then there's sympathetic magic. the ancient principle that a symbolic act performed here can produce a real effect there. Like affects like. This shows up everywhere. Poppets, effigies, candle magic, even prayer. And underneath both of those sits something older still. Correspondence theory. As above, so below. The idea that the inner world and the outer world aren't separate systems. They're reflections of each other, and a shift in one moves the other. So when someone tells you your thoughts create your reality, they're not inventing something new. They're standing at the very end of a very long line. Hermetic philosophers, ceremonial magicians, new thought preachers, all of them working with the same basic claim from different centuries. And the question we're going to sit with tonight isn't whether that claim is true. It's what happens when you take something this old and this serious and hand it to an algorithm. When X happens, I will do Y. Modern psychology actually backs up a small specific piece of this. There's a body of research on something called implementation intentions. The simple act of pairing a goal with a concrete plan. Studies going back decades show that this kind of specific, structured intention measurably increases the odds that someone will follow through with a goal compared to just wanting the thing in a general way. There's also real research on visualization, though it's more nuanced than picture it and it's yours. Athletes who mentally rehearse a performance show genuine neurological and performance benefits. But the visualization that works is process-focused, rehearsing the steps, the movements, the effort. It's not daydreaming about already having won. And then there's confirmation bias, which explains a lot of the anecdotal "it worked for me" energy surrounding manifestation. Set an intention, and your brain starts noticing everything that could be evidence that it's coming true, while quietly filtering out everything that isn't. It's not that the universe necessarily rearranged itself, but your attention sure did. And your attention affects your attitude and what you're going to do next. So the old magicians weren't entirely wrong that focused will does something. It's just that the something happens mostly between your ears and not out there in the stars, which, depending on how you look at it, is either less of a magical answer or a much more personal and valuable one. Does that mean that sympathetic magic and affirmations and everything you know about manifestation isn't helpful or true? Personally, I think that everything helps. And also, if energy affects energy, we can't possibly know what in this big picture of things, what our consciousness is going to influence in our reality. There's always going to be the unknown out there. And you can very easily say that that unknown is magical. I do want to talk about the piece I think that gets left out of most manifestation content, and it is a part that is extremely important and influential. Close your eyes for a second. Go on, if you're not driving, and picture the person you want to become. Not the house, the relationship, the number in the bank account, the person. How do they carry themselves? What do they say yes to? And at this point, having succeeded, what are they willing to go forward with that they no longer see as a risk, but an opportunity? They're not shying away from the possibility of disappointment or embarrassment or failure. What do they say no to? What do they no longer have patience for? Here's the uncomfortable truth underneath all of this. You don't manifest your way into being that person. You don't think your way there either. You act your way there. If you spend your days thinking like your old self, deciding like your old self, and acting like your old self, that's who you're going to keep being. No vision board required. And we certainly can't blame our vision board either. The future self stays a fantasy right up until the moment you start making your decisions today, in small, unglamorous choices nobody's filming. That's not a metaphor either. It's basically identity-based theory habit, dressed up glamorously and mysteriously for the spirit parlor. The psychology is plain. Real change comes less from wanting a new outcome and more from adopting a new identity and then letting your behavior catch up to it. Every choice becomes a vote for who you're becoming. So if you're doing the work tonight, the petition, the intention, the Leo season boldness, this is the piece that makes it real instead of decorative. And the acting like it, starting tomorrow morning, is the answer. And I also want to add, speaking of decorative, I do believe that there are material things you can surround yourself with that can influence and support this new being, this new mindset of you. It's kind of like dress for the job you want. You better start dressing for it now, not next week when you're hired. You know what I mean? If you're going to have material objects in your world, they might as well be chosen to support the reality that you want. If you want to feel mystical, intuitive, psychic even, and full of positive energy, what does your room look like? How do you dress? What objects do you interact with that support this way of being? Sure, all of the materialism you're surrounded with does not do the work for you, but it certainly can help support the mindset, the personality, the energy that you're exuding out into the world. If you're going to identify as a certain person, the mirror should reflect that, your actions should reflect that, your life should reflect it. Gonna take a deep breath, because this whole practice, old, real, occasionally backed by data, has been badly abused. The law of attraction industry was built on the idea that thought alone dictates outcome. And once you follow that logic all the way through, it can turn ugly fast. If your thoughts create your reality, then your illness, your poverty, your bad relationship, that's on you too. That's not empowerment. And that's been used to wave away real systemic and medical problems as personal failures of belief. And that's just not fair. Then there's the manifestation coaching industry itself, which has taken on a shape that should look familiar. Tiered courses, certification programs, an ever upsold path to becoming a coach yourself, recruiting the next round of buyers. And it borrows a lot of its structure from multi-level marketing, just in crystals and affirmation instead of protein shakes or aromatherapy misters. None of that means the underlying idea is worthless. It means, like most things that live in the crossroads of potent, old, and easy to sell to people in pain, it needs to be handled with some care. I, for one, am someone who loves to explore the unknown and the mystical, but also have that balance of analytical thought. So hopefully with this conversation tonight, you can also get a little bit of both. I personally love inner work, building self-awareness, meditating, striving to be the best self I can possibly be, and I take a severe amount of joy from sharing my compassion with others. I would never try to convince you of a metaphysical idea that I didn't believe in myself, that I haven't tried myself with positive results. So with that, I want to offer you a manifestation ritual. It is a moon phase petition. Here's one that you can start building towards, because timing actually matters with this one. And right now, the sky is handing us a gift. We're closing out July under Leo season, And Leo doesn't do anything quietly. This is fire energy, bold, warm, unapologetic, ruled by the sun itself. If you've ever felt sheepish, asking for what you actually want, Leo season is the astrological permission slip to stop whispering about it. So here's a mindset reset, along with a little dash of sympathetic magic. This ritual is called a moon phase petition, and it's built on something old and simple. Write to the moon like she's listening and time it to what she's doing. If you're working with the full moon, that's at the end of this month, this is a release petition. Full moon energy is culmination, illumination, things coming to light. Write down what you're ready to let go of, the doubt, the old story, the thing that's outgrowing you. Read it aloud under the moon if you can, and then burn it or tear it into pieces you can't reassemble. And if you're working with the new moon, that's in mid-August, and you can do both, it's still deep in Leo season, this would be a petition of intention. New moon energy is a blank page, a seed in the dark, waiting. Write your want in the present tense, the way you'd write if it already belonged to you. Fold the paper towards you 3 times, sealing it in words. Keep it somewhere private, under your pillow, in a drawer close to you, until the moon is full again. Either way, here's the Leo part. Don't write small. Don't hedge it with a maybe or if it's meant to be. Leo season wants you to write like you deserve the thing you're asking for. That confidence isn't arrogance in its context. It's the whole mechanism. And again, a note on fire. Leo is a fire sign, so if you're burning your release petition, please do so safely. A fireproof dish, cracked window, water nearby. The universe doesn't need you setting off a smoke alarm to prove your intentions. And that is the practice. 2 moons, 2 months, and 1 loud, unapologetic astrological sign standing behind both of them. Thank you for joining me in my spirit parlor tonight. I encourage you to do either or both of those moon phase petitions, or even during those lunar cycles, you can take those themes and journal about them, visualize them. Again, I encourage you to decide and then be. You don't need certificates. The special magic is deciding and being, and the fact that we have the power to influence and create the reality around us is an amazing gift in itself. If we looked at everyday life this way, that every thought that leads to an action is a form of manifestation, that goes a long, long way. So whether you're burning a petition with the backing of a fire sign, or just sitting with the question of what your own thoughts are really made of, that is the energy in the space we are occupying right now. And before I wish you goodbye from the spirit parlor this evening, if tonight's ritual left you wanting to go a little bit deeper, I've put together a guided meditation to explore who this new version of you is. And that meditation is waiting for you over on my Patreon. You can visit patreon.com/italktoghosts to support the show, get access to the meditation, and unlock an ad-free listening experience for my episodes. Until next time, stay curious, and I'll see you again in the spirit parlor. Take care.